मेरी matha टेक दिया गुरुजी, and greetings to you all on Guruji's birthday, dear Sangat. I really don't know where to begin from. When I think of Guruji, the mind gets completely bombarded with so many images, so many stories, so many incidents, so many experiences, that I don't know even which one to start with first. Perhaps an introduction to Guruji. Our family's introduction to him was in 1995, when he was first visiting Delhi and residing in Greater Kailash. By the time I met him there, my parents were already believers. And when I first set eyes on him, believe me, I was convinced that my parents had lost it and they'd gone bonkers. He was a complete antithesis to what I imagined to be a guru. He was not this aged-looking, flowing white beard, matted hair, simple plain clothes, slightly emaciated, undernourished-looking Guruji. He appeared in that little GK room as a radiant, brilliant sun, overpowering and overshadowing everything. He was larger than life. And it took him only 48 hours to so very gently shred to pieces my earlier visions and perceptions of a guru. I had hardly been to visit gurus or swamis. I didn't approve of them. And here I was at Greater Kailash at his feet. For those of you who might be familiar with the Japji Sahib from the holy Guru Granth Sahib, to my mind, Guruji fits in so beautifully into the Mool Mantra. He is timeless. He is Naam, ever existent and complete within himself. This is how I see him today. It may not have been the case when I first met him in 1995. Sangat ji, Guruji is not someone you can confine or limit to the physical body. We need to understand that he took the human physical body only so that we could see him, hear him, feel his presence in our lives and correct ourselves. He was here, as he often said at the Sangats, "Tuada kalyan karan aaya haan, mere kolu jo le sakde ho, le lo." So although we saw him in the physical frame, he was far, far beyond that. Like Sonia Aunty just said previously, he was Ishwar, he was God. His immensity, his roop, he is a phenomenon extraordinary. He controlled what was happening to his Sangat now. He erased the past and helped all of us into the future. I recall a small satsang of his powers and his extraordinary control. Today, over here, I wish to highlight his godly attributes. It was a hot summer evening in June, and we were all having langar at Empire State. And most of the Sangat had left, langar was over, and Guruji had asked most people to leave. And Guruji decided to visit the Bada Mandir. So just a handful of us who had stayed behind, we all accompanied him there. It was late in the night. Mali opened the Darbar hall, and those 6-7 of us that were there, we decided to switch on the lights, switch on the fans. There were no ACs. And somebody got up and opened the large French windows there so that we could get some breeze because it was really, really hot. Someone picked up a chair and came and put it in the middle of the hall, of the Darbar hall, for Guruji to sit on. And he asked for some chai prasad to be prepared. The kitchen at that time used to be a small kitchen adjoining the Darbar hall, and all food, prasad, chai used to be brought there. Guruji sat in the center of the hall, and the small group of Sangat that was there with him that day, we all scattered along the main hall and sat around with our with our back against the walls. Guruji summoned me, called me over, and asked me to come and sit with him at his feet. And he began talking to me. His opening sentence was, "Darshan Aunty, badi garmi ho gayi hai." So I also nodded my head because it was garmi, and in front of Guruji you couldn't say anything else. So I said, "Hanji Guruji." So he bent down, he had both his hands clasped together, and he says, "Kuch karna pehna hai." And then suddenly he switched the topic, and he started asking me about my father's business, and we chatted about it. Then he talked about Air India, because I was flying with Air India, and he mentioned that flying is not good for girls. It impacts their physical health. And then he quoted a little bit from the Guru Granth Sahib. I didn't understand anything, but he explained what he was telling me from the Guru Granth Sahib. All this was, whilst all this was going on, suddenly, there was lightning. And the windows, those French windows, those large French windows that were open there, they all started banging. There were very old, heavy drapes there. They all began flying. And some of the Sangat who were sitting there, they all quickly got up and they shut the windows. They tied up the drapes. And it poured and it poured and it poured. It rained, and there was so much lightning that evening. Guruji kept chatting with me. I also kept chatting with him. We were discussing all this. In the meantime, somebody brought the chai prasad. And Guruji pointed to him and said, give it to her first. And then those 7, 8, 10 of us that were sitting there, we all had chai prasad. Guruji suddenly went silent. He didn't say anything. So I realized that perhaps he doesn't want to speak anything else. So I also got silent, and I kept looking at my chai glass, and I kept drinking the tea, and Guruji kept sitting there. Both of us sat in silence for the next 10-15 minutes. After a while, He looked at me. He said, "Chai hogi teri?" I said, "Hanji, Guruji." So suddenly he talked across the hall and he asked someone sitting at the door, "Barsat khatam ho gayi hai?" So this gentleman looked out and he came back and he came up to Guruji and said, "Hanji Guruji, barsat niche band ho gayi hai." Kehndi, "Acha, acha, acha." Then he tells me, he says, "Tu kidne naal aayi hai?" I said, "Guruji, aj Umesh leke aaya hai." Umesh was a friend of mine, and he and some relative of his had visited Guruji that evening and they fetched me on the way. So I hadn't brought my own car. So Guruji said, "ठीक है, Umesh naal hai, चंगा है, वो तेनू रस्ते च घर वापस छड़ जाएगा, तेरी चाह हो गई?" मैं कहा, "हाँ जी गुरुजी." "फिर तुसी चलो, बहुत लेट हो गया है, 1 बज रहा है, तुसी चलो." So I said, "ठीक है Guruji." I turned around, I looked at Umesh, he was sitting far away, and I made an ishara to him, "Ke Guruji is asking us to leave." So they also got up, he and his relative, and we all took leave from Guruji. We bowed down, we paid our respects, and we walked out. Now we were walking through the driveway, and at that time, of course, there was no samadhi. There was a huge lawn on the left-hand side, and everything was soaked with water. It had rained so much, and our feet were wet. The water still flowing all around us. Anyway, but it had stopped raining. So we slowly we walked up to the main gate, those tall gates that are there at the beginning of the Bada Mandir. At that time, we used to keep our shoes there itself only. There was no other facilities. So when we came up to the main gate and we opened the gate, I suddenly saw something. I said, "Oh my God." And I turned around and quickly started walking back to the Darbar hall. So Umesh and his relatives, they said, "What's happened? What's happened? Have you forgotten your handbag or something?" I just waved and said, "I'll just tell you." And I came back to the main hall. By then, a lot of people had already got up. The glasses had been collected, and I think they were all preparing to leave. But Guruji was still sitting on the chair. I walked in. He knew I was coming back, and he had this mischievous grin on his smile on his face. His eyes were all full of laughter. I walked back and I went up to him and I looked at him. I was still standing, and he started laughing and I started laughing. He knew that I had perhaps discovered something, some new reality of his. And I just said, "Guruji, you are too much." He just smiled, and I turned around and I walked back, and I came back from the Darbar hall and slowly walked back to the main gates. I stood there, stunned and in complete disbelief. Sangat ji, I had just been a witness to his immense powers and control over time and space, over the seasons. It had rained only on the Bada Mandir. And I was the only one with whom he'd had this conversation about the weather. I was the only one who knew what had happened. There was not a drop of water all the way from there to South Delhi, where I live. That is my Guruji, our Guruji, who lives in our midst and is still inspiring us by giving us experiences on regular basis in some form or the other. I wish you all many, many greetings for his birthday. Jai Guruji. Thank you.